We can get started whenever you'd like, Shane. Oh, except that I can't hear you.
Can you not hear me?
I've got you now.
All right. Can you see me too?
You can? Okay, I can't because I'm screen sharing, so I can see hardly anybody, but nodding yes. So I think we're good.
Okay, because I can't see myself, which is a little frightening. For some reason, that's not working on it right now. Anyway, hi, I'm Shane Sutherland. I'm the current board chair. Welcome to 2022. Let's hope it's better than the last 2 years we've had. And is Heidi here, Lana?
This is Officer Murray. Heidi couldn't make it tonight, so I'm here in her stead.
Okay, the floor is yours.
I don't need the floor but a quick second because she didn't pass on any information to me as far as any updates that's anything changed from the last meeting. It's the start of the new year, and it's a lot of community meetings so far as the community resource officers are having next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. So a lot of the information as far as events that are being planned will be put out then. As far as crime hasn't changed much. So, as far as gunfire, stuff like that over the New Year's Day. But other than that, everything is pretty much the same. There's someone has some questions for me. That's all I have.
Could you just repeat what you said about the meetings next week?
They having the CROs from the different districts, and along with the commanders are having a meeting next week to see which direction they're gonna go as far as events they are planning. So they're discussing, because I know our commander wanted a couple of events planned with different churches in the community. I heard that because I was partly in that meeting, but they're having meetings next week to discuss which direction they want to push forward for this year. So if you have anything that you want pushed or something that you want us involved in, or just send an email. I put my email in the chat and along with my phone number, because when she's not around, it was kind of a last minute deal today, but most of the time if she's not around, it'll probably be me you're dealing with. So I'm kind of her backup. So if you can't reach her, reach out to me. And if I don't know the answer, I'll get it for you.
Thank you. Maria, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I have my hand up. I'll take it down because I do have a question. One of my neighbors sent me a text that I think is going around, and it's short. I'll just read it. It's kind of scary crime alert thing. There's a serial rapist at large who is targeting women. Last known attempt was in City Park. Attacker is a white male, slim, medium build, between 5'11" and 6 feet, 25 to 30 in age, long hair parted down the middle, is armed, stalking women as they walk to their cars, threatening them with a gun into their back seat. Also, the city has seen an increase in attempted kidnappings. There have been numerous reports of women being asked to exit their vehicles to help someone in distress, or as mass groups of men wait in vans for them to get out of their car. So I don't know if that's just the normal kind of internet buzz that goes around about crime in our community, or if there's some information, Officer Murray, that we ought to have specifically about Park Hill, City Park, etc.
To be honest with you, ma'am, I hadn't heard any of that information that you just read from that text. I will check on that tomorrow. But some of the information that you did read it's been around. It's like every so often it'll pop back up. It's just a matter of being due diligence. When you come out and you see a van next to your vehicle that doesn't have all the windows are covered, be very cautious or wait to have somebody in the area before you get in your car. That's been an ongoing thing throughout the country. That is nothing new and nothing that we had any issues with here in the Denver metro area that I know of. So, but most of that information is just buzz off the internet. It's something has changed, I'll reach out tomorrow to my commander and see if anything along that line, but I haven't heard anything at all.
Appreciate that, because we don't really like our park or our neighborhood to be portrayed as a area where there's a lot of that kind of crime, and we see this kind of stuff once in a while, so I just wanted to run it by you. Appreciate you following up.
Not a problem, ma'am. I'll check with the commander tomorrow and get back with you if I find out anything is what you put out is true. Anyone else have any questions? Again, my email and my cell phone number is in the chat. If you have any questions, you find out later, you have any question, feel free to email or call. Ma'am, that's all.
Thank you, Officer Murphy. Now I think, Lana, you're gonna give the committee updates next.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Everybody knows the housekeeping stuff on a Zoom meeting by now, I assume. Maybe we don't have to even do that anymore. We still have our garden calendars available. They are 2022 calendars, and we're 6 days in now. So if you're interested, grab them now before they become less and less relevant day by day, I guess. They're $20, and all proceeds come to the organization to support us and to support the garden walk. The committee, put a lot of effort into making these. They're all pictures from this past year's garden walk. So they're all Park Hill, and I think there's one Mayfair garden. And then on the dates, there's tips and tricks and things and reminders for gardening along the Front Range. So if you know anybody who's into gardening, it makes a really nice gift. You can go to parkhillgardenwalk.org and order them that way. You can pick up at the office, we could drop off to you, or they're available at several retailers in the area. So that list is available on that website as well. Our food programs, as always, are running, and I just wanted to point out that we just made an update to our website. So this is on the food programs portion, or sorry, the donation portion of our website. And I've listed out a little more clearly the things that we do and do not accept. So one column here is all the things that we can accept, because it's not just food. We distribute a lot of personal care items, household items, baby items, pet food, things of that nature. And then the column to the right here is our client favorites. So these are the items that we distribute all the time to all of our clients. And so if you're ever going shopping and wondering, what do they need the most of, that is here for you. You're always welcome to call us and find out specifically, if there's anything that we need at that time. But anyway, just wanted to point that out. More information, helpful information. A couple notices from the city. This one is about, oh my gosh, and I can't see because my little toolbar, sorry. This one is about a survey about how Denver should spend federal HUD dollars. So if you're interested in giving your 2 cents on that, I was going to drop this very lengthy, I'll drop this very lengthy URL into the chat here in a minute. And that's available for you. And then there's also community planning and development is working on advancing equity and rezoning. The task force has been selected, and they have their first meeting coming up next week. So if that's something that interests you, those meetings are open to the public, and you're welcome to join in denvergov.org/equity in rezoning.
Lana?
Yes.
Is there anyone that is in that group from our board? This is Shane.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
Hey, Lana, this is me. I looked at this today. I did not see anybody.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I'm confusing it with something else, but yeah, I
Thanks,
don't think
Tracy.
so. Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Sorry, hard to keep track of all the great stuff our board is involved in. All right, that's all I've got, short and sweet. So,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you, Lana.
Sure.
And let's see, next we have Denver trash fee proposal. Taylor, or is it Tyler? Taylor. Taylor, are you there?
And Taylor, I think I was supposed to update this. I know you told me someone else was going to be
Yeah, no
presenting, and
worries.
I'm so sorry, I forgot to update it.
No, you're good. Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Taylor Mullers with the Office of Climate Action, Sustainability and Resiliency. I've worked with a handful of you in the past on the Sustainable Neighborhoods program, which all the Park Hill neighborhoods are a part of. Excited to get back to that program this year, so I'll be coming back to you guys with more for that. But tonight we have Grace Rink, our Executive Director, here to present on our new expansion of waste services proposal.
Thanks so much, Taylor, and good evening, everybody. Would it be all right if I shared my screen? Okay, how about this? If any of you objects, I'll take it down. How about that?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Please go ahead and
Okay,
share.
thanks.
Yeah.
Or you know, it always takes a minute to figure out what you're seeing versus what I'm seeing. Okay, great. Again, thank you so much. And thanks, Taylor. So I'm Grace Rink. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Climate Action, Sustainability and Resiliency. And you may have noticed a number of new names here this evening. I'm also joined by not only folks from our team, but also my colleagues from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, the Division of Solid Waste Management, who are the people who service our waste services for the city for all of our residential customers. So thanks for allowing us to join you this evening. You are actually the first community group that we're reaching out to this month. And so this is an exciting opportunity for us to give you this new material. We're here to talk about a proposal that would improve waste hauling services that the city provides for residents and also begin charging a fee for that service. This has been talked about for a long time, but we're finally getting close to having an ordinance ready for City Council's consideration. So tonight we'd like to tell you about it and hear your ideas for how you might be able to make it work for your family. So this presentation should take about 10 minutes. And from what I understand, at the end of your meeting, we will have time for Q&A, but we'll work with that however works for your format. So we'll review how our waste service currently operates, how this issue is connected to climate change, and how this new fee service would work and the services that will come with it. So the city of Denver collects trash for around 180,000 households, which is about 60% of our residents. We provide this service for all single-family homes and small apartment buildings up to 7 units. And the agency that performs the service is DOTI, the Department of Transportation Infrastructure that I mentioned earlier. And the rest of the city's residents and all businesses have to contract with private companies for their trash services. So in the conversation today, we're only talking about the city's customers. So those 180,000 residents in single-family homes and small apartment buildings. Now, our service is paid for through the general fund. That's where all of our property taxes and sales taxes go to fund all the services and programs that are offered by the city of Denver. Everyone pays into that, even our visitors. We don't charge our customers for trash or recycling. And we also offer compost, as many of you know, but customers have to pay just under $10 a month for that. Now, unfortunately, 74% of our waste goes straight to landfill. You're going to hear us mention the word diversion a few times. That number combines recycling plus the amount of compostable waste that we're not sending to landfill. That's why it's called diversion. So Denver's combined recycling and composting rate is 26%, which is below the national average. And it's only grown 1 or 2% every year for the last 20 years. We would like to get to a 50% diversion rate, but at this pace, it'll take another 25 years to get there. And those landfill emissions really do matter when it comes to the environment. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas, and it's created as waste rots in the landfill. And methane actually does more damage to the atmosphere than carbon, but it also leaves the atmosphere much faster than carbon. So as the quote here states, if we can stop emitting all sources of methane as soon as possible, it will make a noticeable improvement in our lifetime. And it's really important for us to remember who we're doing this work for. Poor air quality right here in Denver and the negative impacts of climate change, like extreme heat, hurt the people and places that we love so much. So specifically, our climate efforts, Denver's climate efforts, are centered on equity. The Latino and Black communities in Denver and our children are the most burdened by climate change impacts. And we have to do more, and we have to do what it takes to improve our environment so that they can have a higher quality of life. So the darker blue sections of the map that you see there indicate our lower equity neighborhoods. These are places with lower access to healthcare, lower access to healthy food and parks, higher rates of poverty, and increased vulnerability to extreme heat and other quality of life indicators that we at the city are working so hard to improve. Now, charging a fee for trash service may sound like a new idea, but many people in Denver have actually been trying to reduce the amount of waste that we send to landfill for a long time. We really have done all we can to increase our recycling and encourage our customers to compost through education and outreach. Over all these years, one solution that keeps coming up is moving to a fee-based system. And some of you may remember the first three-bin recycling system back from the early 90s. It was rolled out citywide, but participation was low. The city switched to a larger single cart where you could put all types of recyclable materials in one place. And now 96% of our customers have recycling, which is great. We started offering compost over 10 years ago, and it's proved to be really popular. We now have 30,000 customers using the compost service, which is about 20% of all of our customers. But not much has changed in the last 10 years. And a number of our resident-led advisory committees and advisory councils really have all recommended that we move to a fee-based system to reduce food waste, increase recycling, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, because we've seen it work in other cities like these. There are a number of cities across the US where this is already working. Some of the cities on this map have recycling and composting rates that are 2 or 3 times as high as Denver's. And the one thing that they have in common is a fee for hauling trash while also providing recycling and composting for free. So that's the foundation. And now let's talk about the proposal and how a fee for trash service would work here. So if we're able to move to a fee-based service, it's important to know that by state law, the fee can only cover what it costs the city to operate the waste hauling service. This list shows you what would be included in that cost of service. Every service that we offer now is included along with 2 major changes. The first of which is weekly recycling, and the second is composting for all of our customers. These are huge changes for Denver, but we've heard loud and clear from our customers that this is what they want. No more overflowing recycling carts or having to put some of your recycling in the trash cans. So now how would it work? So first, our customers would get to choose the size of the trash cart that they want, small, medium, or large. And the service fee would vary by the size of the trash cart. The smallest cart has the lowest fee, the largest cart has the highest fee. And recycling and compost carts would be available in these same sizes. We know that for many households, space is an issue, and the smallest carts do take up the least amount of space. We need every customer to pay for a base fee just to keep the trucks running by each house and taking the trash away. The cost difference between the carts will encourage customers to choose the smallest cart and maximize their use of the recycling and composting cart. Now, composting will be available to all customers at no additional charge. And for those 30,000 customers in our compost program now, they'll pay a little less each month if they choose the smallest cart in this new system. Now, we're also mindful, though, of our neighbors who have lower incomes and the seniors who are on fixed incomes. And so the city will allocate funding from our general fund to pay for an instant rebate on their bill. Eligibility will be based on the area median income, and we try not to use too much jargon, but this one packs in a lot. The great thing about the area median income measure is that it accounts for household size in addition to household income. And that's really important for those larger households and multi-generational households that might really need the largest cart in order to get by, but also need financial assistance. Folks will be able to apply through Department of Human Services, and we'll be able to apply the rebate straight to the bill. So they simply won't pay the full price rather than having to pay first and get a refund later. Renters will be eligible to apply if the landlord designates them as the payee, as the person who pays. But in cases where the landlord pays directly, renters can still get financial assistance through Department of Human Services that might actually be able to help them with even more of their household costs through the Temporary Rental and Utility Assistance Program, which is called TRUA. And we're planning to contract with community-based organizations to help people apply for the program. Now, we understand that paying a fee is hard, but we've worked as hard as possible to keep this fee low. This slide shows the actual costs that people pay here in Denver and in other cities when they have to hire for their own trash services, like all of our neighbors who live in larger multi-unit buildings. And in fact, from what we can find in our research, only Longmont and Boulder offer composting. Most of the other suburbs around here that charge high fees for waste services don't offer composting. And as noted earlier, Denver residents who live in buildings with 8 units or more already have to pay for their trash services, and many of them don't have the recycling option. And so all of their waste goes to landfill. And most importantly, as it says there at the bottom, we are the only city that we know of that will be offering a discount or an instant rebate for our low income customers. So if the timeline, this is the timeline we're in right now. If all goes according to plan, and if that includes if city council were to vote to approve this, then we would be delivering our new carts to customers over the summer, and then the new services and the fee would roll out this fall. There's a lot of work to do between now and then. So we're having these outreach meetings to hear your input and how this might work for you. And then we'll be able to incorporate that into the draft of the ordinance that we present to city council. We're also building the billing system so customers can change their cart sizes in advance. And again, like I mentioned a minute ago, we'll be contracting with community-based organizations to help people learn about the program and enroll. And I'm going to end it there because my last slide says discussion. And I think we're taking questions at the end. So thank you for that.
I think we're going to just take questions right now.
Okay, we're ready. And Art, I know Art is here somewhere. It's hard to see on the screen, but my colleague Art Mieja is here. There he is. Hi, Art. He is the director of solid waste management. So you have the folks here who can give you absolutely all the answers to your questions, except for the ones that will surprise us, and we will come back to you with answers. So fire away.
Are there any questions?
I had a question. Grace, how is the budget for this figured out? Is this a neutral? Because the people still are paying taxes and there's additional cost. So could you, you may not have it now, but could you send us kind of the budget for this program and how it works out?
Actually, yes, I can explain that. And I think we can follow up probably, I don't think it's going to be right away with the cost of service because it's still in progress. But yeah, so Department of Transportation Infrastructure, Arts Department actually is required to do what's called a cost of service study. So they actually have to be able to outline exactly what it would cost to provide this service. And that's where the fees come from. The tax question is an interesting one. Like I was mentioning earlier, this is your waste service now, assuming that you're one of our customers, that waste service is provided by the general fund and everybody pays into that.
I totally know what the general fund is.
Okay, right. So all that means is that switching to this fee-based service wouldn't change the tax burden on households, but it would mean that that money that's in the general fund that's currently going to the trash service would be free for other services that the city decides everybody needs.
Well, and because there's going to be and there'll be some revenue that comes in from this.
It is, but you know what? The revenue that comes into this is only allowed to pay for the trash service. It is not allowed to generate revenue for anything else for the city, only for this service.
Yeah, so if you could at some point send that when you got it, that would be excellent. Just what that looks like within that line, within the general fund, that would be great.
Okay, we can follow up with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
does anyone else have any other questions?
Shane, more of a comment.
Sure.
Just, I think this has been a long this conversation, as you alluded to, has been happening with various organizations, including the city's agencies for a little while now, and I'm super excited to see it moving forward. I think you see in the chat too, a number of other folks on the board are very much on board with this direction. And certainly, the only way we're going to move the needle on those numbers that you called out that have been stagnant for so long is to really flip the model. And last I checked, and maybe someone can confirm this, last I checked, I believe our council person is actually one of the people who are in support of this direction. So for those who don't know.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I guess one of my concerns is right now, I feel the average person sometimes has trouble with what is recyclable material and what is garbage. Now people will be pushing that a little bit more when their can is full. What is the plan in play? And by the way, I approve what you're going for. This is not a negative. This is just a concern on how do we overcome people recycling stuff they shouldn't, and vice versa, throwing away stuff that should be recycled. Because I think the general population, I mean, there's even questions in my house, and I think of us as fairly educated, environmental minded people on, you know, wait, is this cardboard? It's cardboard, but it had pizza in it. So what, you know, what are we doing? Is there anything that's coming out? I know the flyer goes out usually once a year from the sanitation department trying to go over it. But is there anything that's going to be put on the cans or something so people can actually look when they're putting it in to say, oh, yeah, we should recycle this, or no, this is garbage?
That's such an excellent question. And I think it is unfortunate, isn't it? We've all been talking about recycling for so long, and yet there are more and more products and more packaging that we as consumers have to try to figure out. And that is hard. So I think our responsibility as a city is to try to make it as easy as possible for folks to understand what goes in each one of the carts that you have. And I think we do that in different ways. I think on the cart makes a lot of sense. I know my carts have a sticker on it. What we really need is something, you know, inside the house, little reminders. And I think that we will be able to, our office and Dottie, we all have funding that we can put towards more creative educational materials that we can get out to all our customers, and that we can provide to the whole city, because other people do have recycling options. One thing that I'm really hopeful about is that it sounds like the state legislature in this new spring session, they're going to be considering an extended producer responsibility bill, which might really help to bring in more dollars for that education, really streamline our waste services, and then really bring the manufacturing producers on board with us, right? And making it clear on their products what can actually be recycled, what goes in which bin.
Another question, with COVID and the how common it is to have things delivered to your home from all these agencies, especially cardboard. I have a recycling bin every 2-week period that's just filled with cardboard. And I think there's a lot of households who could separate corrugated cardboard out. And I know that's a material that's not easily, but a good thing to recycle. But as soon as you combine it with other materials, it's not as valuable to recycle. Have they ever thought about, with the proliferation of people getting cardboard delivered to their home now with home deliveries, of doing a bin just for corrugated cardboard? So, because there's market value for that. So there's, you know, and it's a huge, like I said, it's a huge chunk of my recycling. And if we can go and get it back in the system, it'd be better for everyone.
That's an interesting idea. And I'm kind of looking at Art here to see if we've considered that. I think that if we really are able to make this particular proposal work and we're able to move to weekly recycling, then your bin may not have to be quite as contaminated, right? You'll be able to spread out your cardboard in your carts rather than cramming it all in. That might help. We do also have the Cherry Creek drop-off center for those who are able to get there with their cardboard when it piles up. Art, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else about how we manage our cardboard waste and make sure that we're recycling as much as we can.
Yeah, so the cardboard gets delivered to one of the material recovery facilities where they sort out all the different types of recycling. So it is not as bad as mixing the cardboard within our recycling, right? What we don't want to do is mix the cardboard with the trash. That will create a problem. But we haven't had any issues with having our recycling containers full of cardboard, but we can definitely look into that idea.
Well, and my household might be an oddity that basically we get so many UPS packages and everything comes in a box. And I mean, sometimes there's 3 boxes, to be honest with you. They just over package everything we order. Dog food doesn't need to be wrapped 3 times, but it does. And so therefore we have cardboard that I know is good and I like to see it used. But if all of a sudden, maybe with the oddity that we have literally one whole bin worth of cardboard per period.
And as we move forward, our focus is going to be to get clean recycling, right? So we remove the possible items that could contaminate your recycling items. So if we do that, if we get to the point where we have clean recycling, having cardboard within our cart is not gonna be a big major issue for us.
I have a question. The new fee that is going to be charged, this kind of relates to Brenda's question about the finances. But my question specifically is whether the money that's generated from this new fee is going to enable the department to fully staff and be able to deliver the service reliably. I know that our green bin doesn't get picked up all the time. And I call and there are the same operational problems that everybody else in the universe is having. But I'm wondering how this fee relates to improving the service and also the compensation and working conditions for the collectors.
Art, you want to go ahead and take that?
Yeah, so absolutely. That is going to make a difference for us, right? We strive to be fully staffed. We are having issues right now due to the large shortage of drivers, not only in Denver, but it's a nationwide issue. But that is the point where we want to get to. We strive to hire, and we continue to hire. We have brought on board about, I would say 20 to 23 new employees within the last month. But we are having some challenges collecting some of the material. We want to get to the point where everybody gets their service on the same week. We're not there yet, but I can tell you that we are working day in and day out to get there. And part of the reroute that we just had this week is to get us there.
Any other questions? I just have one more comment, and it's kind of I didn't want to bring it up, but is the city thinking of anything for businesses or non-things to help with this? I mean, because you say this is the only way to do it, but there's a large portion that's not covered by less than 7 or things that Denver really isn't doing anything recycling or composting. Is there any initiative on that?
Yeah, it's a huge concern. So Denver does not have a citywide recycling ordinance that would create that requirement for multifamily buildings and for businesses. And we know that there's a high demand, especially for people who live in multifamily buildings. They really want to have recycling and compost available to them. But unless the city requires it, it's going to be challenging, for the business community to provide that. So the way we're approaching this is we think that this is a good stepping stone to not only provide our customers with the service that they want, composting for everybody and recycling every week. And then once we have that and our customers have really the same services that they're paying for, it'll be a lot easier for us to then pass a recycling and composting requirement for the rest of the city.
Okay, that's nice. I hope it does, because it's a huge piece of the puzzle that's missing. Also, don't forget construction too. They put a lot in your landfills too.
Absolutely. So, I've got some other waste people here who might know more than I do. Charlotte, do you remember the exact percentage of our landfill waste that is compost and demolition debris recycling or material? I mean,
yeah, if you take the whole citywide waste system, it's about 47% construction and demolition debris.
That's a lot.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's on our radar.
I knew it was a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Because I think we've actually gone over our time a little bit.
Thank you. We so appreciate you giving us time on your meeting tonight. Thank you very much.
And thank you for presenting, and Happy New Year to you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, next we're going to Sand Creek Regional Greenway Partnership. Is Monique there?
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Thanks for having me. Grace and your team, thanks for that very informational presentation. I appreciate that. Hi all, my full name is Monique. My mom would prefer for that, but I tend to go by Mo. Feel free to call me whichever you feel most comfortable with. I will respond to both. I work for the Sand Creek Regional Greenway Partnership. I've been with the partnership for a little bit less than 3 years now, but have been in the executive director role for just a few months after our former executive director, Beth Nobles, retired. The partnership advocates for the protection, awareness, engagement, and access of the Sand Creek Regional Greenway. So I'm not sure how many of y'all are aware of this resource within your community, but it's just a few miles away from the greater Park Hill neighborhood. And it is currently a 13-mile long trail. It was previously a 14-mile long trail, but due to some restructuring, we are now accurately calling it 13 miles. On the eastern terminus, it connects Aurora at the Triple Creek Trailhead. It runs west into Central Park, right near the Park Hill neighborhood, continuing west towards Commerce City, where it meets the confluence at the Platte. And many of you may have known that. But I'm mostly here to just spread awareness of this resource and to offer anybody an opportunity to ask questions about the many opportunities that the partnership has. We are currently in a restructuring phase. And so for the past 20 years, the partnership has been very heavily focused on the development of the trail. In Central Park, taxpayers supported the construction of about a $2 million project that fully paves the Denver section of the trail, which means about 75% of the trail is now fully paved and a great access point for everybody with various mobility abilities. And we're looking to continue that process out into Aurora. But because most of the development is done, we're now refocusing on the enhancement of the trail. So putting in fountains and kiosks, shade structures and benches, murals and seasonal art displays, in addition to increasing volunteer opportunities, getting a chance for all of our community members the opportunity to practice and to invest in stewardship in this really great natural resource, and then increasing educational opportunities for our youth and our adults and everything and anybody in between. And so I really just wanted to share with you, we have two activities coming up. They are both birding activities. One is called Birding Without Barriers. It's led by a gentleman through Denver Audubon who was in a climbing accident as a teenager and lost mobility from the waist down. He found a lot of peace by being in the outdoors and has created this program that allows everybody and anybody with any type of neural or physical abilities or disabilities to participate in birding. So that is coming up on the 12th of this month. And then we have another one starting next month on February 19th called the Backyard Bird Count. And these numbers just help us collect better data and information for the type of birds and waterfowl living on the Greenway, and really just gives the people an opportunity to learn more about this resource that's in their neighborhood. We are also starting our volunteer work days. I believe those start up in April, and we'll have one every month from April into November. And I would love an opportunity to connect with anybody here who is personally interested in volunteering, works for an organization that encourages their employees to get out and to volunteer, has a group of students or neighborhood kids who would like to participate in community science, water collection, or anything and anything in between those opportunities. Our biggest goal right now is to get more community members from their home and into the Greenway. So additionally, I'd love to hear any program opportunities that have come across your mind that you would like to see available for the people in your community that we might be able to create and work together to generate really for your interest and engagement. Those were lots of words. I welcome anybody to ask questions or to offer any comments. As I said, we're in a restructuring and a rebuilding phase. Our mission, vision, and values are currently changing and will be distributed to the community probably in February. So we're really excited to kind of reintroduce ourselves to everybody.
Questions, anyone?
Hi, is it Bernadette? I see your message in the chat. So we have lots of goals coming up this year, and one of them will be an updated website. So we are currently in the works with a cartographer to update our map. And once that map is completed by May, June, we're going to completely revamp our website. So it will be more accessible and a little bit more community friendly. But there is a new tab that we just created last month. It's in our educational tab. And then if you kind of just toggle down, there's a public events option. And that public events will list all of those events that I just talked about. I will, once I'm done chatting, just plug those in the chat. Oh, there you go. Good job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Monique. Sorry, I forgot what you prefer to be called. And thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it. Next, I believe, is the Office of Clerk and Recorder.
Yeah, I believe Clerk Paul Lopez actually is present with us, or he was. Let's see.
I'm here.
Fantastic.
Hi. Say up.
We've got you.
Oh, okay, good. Well, hi everybody. I'm Paul Lopez. I'm your Denver Clerk and Recorder. And you may be wondering, it's only January. It's only January. We don't have an election until the June primary. This year we have. It's never too early to make sure that people are registered to vote and that you're double checking your registration. A lot of what I tend to do is just remind people because a lot of us think that we are already registered to vote, but that's not necessarily. Some of us move. There are changes in our last name, new addresses, things like that. So I always want to make sure that people are staying up to date with that. So just as a reminder, we'll put this in the chat. I do want to introduce Brandy Michelle. Now, Brandy is an engagement specialist in our office, and I don't know if Brandy will pop on to say hi. There's Brandy. So if you don't see me around, you'll see Brandy. She's my engagement specialist. She's my senior engagement specialist here with our office. In 2020 or 2019, when I was elected to this position, I right away created an engagement and outreach team because it's one thing to get everybody to vote and communicate via Twitter and Facebook and social media, but not everybody's connected that way. And as a matter of fact, a lot of our low propensity precincts all through the neighborhoods really don't communicate that way either. So we have to make sure that we have a team and that all of our efforts are doing the good old fashioned, sleeves rolled up, clipboards in hand, doing that voter reg and doing that engagement in every single nook and cranny. Our goal is to make sure that you have the same access to the ballot box, equal access to the ballot box, no matter what zip code you reside in Denver. So with that, we had a really successful couple of years. It's been hard. I could tell you there hasn't been a more difficult time to be the chief elections official than now. I thought, hell, we're going to be able to work, take this model to the next level, and everybody trusts what we're doing. A lot of people know what we do. Nobody's going to give us crap about our mail-in ballots, right? Knock on wood, that didn't happen. We had to defend that. We're fighting the misinformation that came out of the 2020 election, and we're still going to have to fight that misinformation that's out there, that disinformation. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that really just don't have common sense when it comes to what we do. There's a lot of folks out there that believe that for some reason some Dominion system is going to count their ballots backwards, or that our paper ballots aren't enough for an evidential training, that our audit isn't enough. We have the best and most secure system in the country. And it's super easy to vote here. One of the things that we did right away was increase the amount of drop boxes throughout the neighborhoods. We've increased that number by 14. And I say 14 right now because we have one drop box that's sitting in our lobby that's going to be put on the DU campus. So there's a lot that we're up to. This is going to be a big election coming up in November. The primary is going to be a state primary, so the unaffiliated voters are going to be able to vote. They can only send in one ballot, so one party or the other. You can't do both. And we're going to gear up for November. November is going to be pretty. I'm going to tell you right now, buckle in. You thought the last general cycle was a little bit rough. This one's going to be another bumpy ride. So we're going to need your support to kind of help us disseminate that information, get those ballots in early, and really fight that misinformation out there that's directed at suppressing people's votes. So until then, let me update you on a couple things that are happening. So first and foremost, we have a ballot access modernizing committee. Why? Because there's some ballot measures that have been on the city charter, and they've been doing that. There's a lot more ballot access. There's a lot more questions that are on our ballot because of the fact that Denver's grown, but our thresholds to be able to put things on the ballot haven't changed. They're still relatively low, so we want to be able to look at that. Also, our blue book needs to be reformed. Right now, you just have to do a pro and con. I don't have any power in this process to be able to edit that. We only have to make sure that there's no F-bombs and that somebody's not calling out somebody else's mother, or that doesn't surpass 500 words. We can't edit it for correctness. We can't edit it for content, except for those two things that I mentioned. So it ends up being what we saw in the media, and that was Facebook on paper. People say that there's a study that was done, and this is why group living didn't pass, right? Or this is we did a study and this and that, and then actually the study actually wasn't true, or wasn't correct, or wasn't accurate. So we want to be able to be able to edit that in a way that is fair. So part of what we want to be able to do is just fix some of the inconsistent processes, some of the timing issues that we have with the time frame it takes for somebody to be able to get a petition together and put it on the ballot. Sometimes council members also do it at the last minute, so we don't have a good idea of what our ballot's going to look like until the end of October or the end of August, and then we go to print. And then usually we don't have the budget for it if it goes to another page, so we have to ask for a supplemental. So we want to be able to do that condenses the timing. It limits the public engagement side, council discussion and analysis to a certain period of time so that we can concentrate on other parts of our election. That committee is also going to examine the different processes, identify some of the challenges, and look at some other best practices that include the state level. A lot of what we do is counterintuitive, and a lot of what's on the books just doesn't make sense because the state has already surpassed, in terms of surpassed Denver in terms of what it requires of some of these ballot initiatives. Single title, single subject titles, and single subject content in some of these ballots. It can, on these initiatives, can get confusing. And also, we also want to make sure that, one, we don't want to put a chilling effect on the democratic process. We want folks to be able to create a petition and do an initiated ordinance. But as you saw last time, we had competing ones. And it didn't take much for it to get there. And it created quite the hullabaloo, right? And so we want to make sure that we're reforming. People were kind of exploiting some of these processes. We want to make sure that we're reforming it in a way that's modern. And also, we also want to, with this committee is, we've invited some experts from around the community and in the state to explore other opportunities for improvement. That way we can ensure a more fair and open process. So that's what we're going to be doing. So some ordinance changes, charter changes, and just going to that next level of modernization for how we gather signatures, how we go after folks who are taking those petitions and hiding out and just filling them out themselves without getting punished. That's election fraud. And so we want to be able to kind of look at everything under the sun, just to make sure that the process is fair and open, right? Without without eroding access. The other thing is, I don't know if you all deal with politics in terms of running for office or have raised money for a candidate or have looked at campaign finance or anything like that, but it's kind of a mess right now. The system, there is no system. It's a spreadsheet. It's real rudimentary. It's not accountable. It's just really not at a point that it's user friendly. If you wanted to see who's given to your elected officials, you kind of really have to dig, right? If you wanted to know, hey, Clerk Lopez, we hear you want to increase the threshold of signatures and put this on to get on the ballot. Why are you doing that? Is it the paper company that's lining your pockets? I bet you that's the case. So, you can actually go check. Right now in this system, you have multiple different reports that we ask of elected officials to fill out every year. There's different disclosures. I'm sorry, my little beasts are being loud. Get what? It's like Little Animal Planet. They go after each other. It's like Follow the Wild or something. But so what we want to be able to do is clean it up. We're going to reform and just create a whole new campaign finance system so that all you got to do is click on either the donor or the candidate or the committee, and you're going to be able to see who's given to them, who's contributed, how much, what company they're from, and who that other company or who that other individual has given to as well too. So and then also lobbyist reporting and disclosures as well too, financial disclosures. So those are the kind of things that it's so complex to try to navigate right now. We want a one-stop shop. So in-depth search functions for the public, and also because of the fact that we have the Fair Elections Fund, this is publicly financed campaigns. These are tax dollars. These aren't private dollars that are being raised by candidates. These are your tax dollars that are going to be used. We don't want to make sure that people are taking their ladies out to dates, right, using that, or going catching a football game or eating at McDonald's, and that's their slush fund every day, right? We want to make sure that this is used as if it, as if an elected official or your public servants are using it. There are certain rules that you can do. You cannot, for example, go buy a bottle of tequila with tax dollars, right? There's a lot of different things that we want to make sure are in place. There's a lot of rules and regulations that we want to be able to do so that one, it levels the playing field for first-time candidates or anybody running for office, but it does so responsibly, right? We're trying to launch in February, so next month. We want to, it's much needed upgrades for campaign users, employees, Denver residents, anybody that seeks to kind of get on this dashboard, get a better display of what's happening, good snapshot, right? So it's called MapLight, and what we're going to do, that's the system, but we're actually going to call it something else. That first phase will provide searchable, accessible campaign finance information of that Fair Elections Fund, and just privately run dollars. Phase 2 would expand it to, to have pretty cool tools that have capability to include an ethics portal as well too. So it's actually going to be pretty legit. I know I'm probably talking your ear off on it, and I'm super overly excited about something probably so mundane, but these are your tax dollars. And this is also, you know, sunshine where we really need it in politics. And that's not, you know, inferring anything, but, you know, there's a lot of vitriol. There's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of politics gets ugly, right? And what we want to do is be able to provide the public with a system that shines needed light there so that you can actually do your own research. And then two, makes it easy for campaigns and makes it easy for candidates to be able to file, right? So so that's that. So with that, again, 2 elections and coming up in this year, primary in June, and the general midterm election in November. We're also looking for election judges. We have a lot of Democrats, have some affiliated and unaffiliated folks, but we also really need some Republicans there too. The reason why this is a trusted process, and it is secure, and it is auditable, right, is because of the fact that we have bipartisan teams working all the time, handling anytime they're touching a ballot or anything else. So with that, questions?
I think we had a few in the chat. I think Nam, Brenda, and I think John, you had one too.
Okay.
So let's start with you, Brenda.
Yeah, I think it's terrific that you want to have more transparency and make it more searchable, kind of more like the state system where you can really find a lobbyist very quickly. And so that's terrific. But I am a little, I am interested in this questions and this committee you have about the Blue Book and this other, you know, these other committees. Is that a committee where we're going to be able to, can we watch those meetings?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're going to have 4, yes. Brenda, we're going to have 4 meetings that are going to be public meetings. They're going to be Zoom meetings. So you're going to be able to chime in, and it's purposely going to be done on, I'm sorry, not Zoom. What do we use, Brandy? Freaking Teams. So either Teams or Zoom, yeah, whatever platform. Yes, no, we are. It's a committee that I'm appointing. It's just what it is, an extension of a committee that I created last year to help look at, you know, the model in which we, you know, operate with our municipal election. We actually changed our municipal election, if you hadn't noticed, in the charter, from a May election to an April election, because we need to send our ballots overseas, right, to Americans living abroad, and also to the service members, right, that are voting in our elections. We want to make sure that we have the time to send it to them and come back on time in our munis. So yes.
So Brenda, will you let Lana? So will you let us know when those meetings are?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if those notices are going out to RNOs, then we'll make sure to distribute those as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's our intent. That way you guys can chime in on that too. Like I said, we don't want to limit access, but we want to be able to clean it up because it's a bit of a mess. So let's see who's on the committee. Brenda, we haven't. So we have a few folks. I can provide a list. We are adding it to a website. We're actually going to launch that this month. So our first meeting is going to be the end of January. We'll make sure we send it to you. John B.
What's going on?
If you're the John B that I listened to in high school. Oh no, that's John Bowman. I thought it was John B, man.
I am John B.
Playing with the baby face all that time, you know, all those smooth jams.
Hey, so real quick, I don't want to take up a whole lot of time, but having been a counselor, you probably know the process. They're redistricting the city right now in terms of council districts. Anything you can speak to about that? And they say there's two representatives from each committee or from each council district, but I haven't seen a list of any of that. Or I've called down a couple times, haven't gotten any response. So I got you on the spot.
Well, I mean, John, you know this as the clerk. That's a legislative function, the redistricting process.
Sure.
My job is to create the precincts. So we've actually created the precincts. We've actually went down to 301 precincts and kind of cleaned it up, tightened it up a little bit to match geographical natural boundaries and things like that. Make them, you still keep them accessible and walkable, yet, being able to really give council and the public an opportunity to really see how the precincts lay out. And that way they can use those to build accurate council districts, right?
Sure.
Usually the council district redistricting process happens in person, but because of the fact that we're dealing with Zoom and everything else, from what I understand and meeting with different members of council, that they're really expanding that access. So my advice and kind of what, as interested citizens in the process, make sure that you tune into these meetings. I think there was a training tonight. I think they may have an opportunity for folks to be able to go and look back at those videos. I mean, this is picking your council representative, right? And think about this in terms of when people say communities of interest, it doesn't mean, oh, we want the museum and the zoo. Oh, Pete's Kitchen needs to be in our district. It's always been, it's not about things. It's not about houses. It's not about zone districts or character. It's about people, right? And we want to make sure that every single council district's within a 5% deviation or 5-point deviation, right? So you really don't want one council district having too many people over the other. You want to kind of make sure that that is the case. But my being the former chair of the redistricting committee, the last time we did this, and the chair of the census committee when I was a councilman, just make sure that you're involving yourselves in the process, give the input to your council people, and also be open-minded, right? Denver's growing, it's changing, it's densifying in a lot of areas. So you just want to make sure that people, that your district is diverse, that it's it has a lot of room, has some room for growth, but it's not just monolithic, right? When I was a councilman, for me, it was, I don't want just to have all the projects in one council district. It has to be everywhere. Everybody should know a little bit of those issues, right? Everybody should be responsible for different walks of life. And also, council tends to be a little bit territorial as a councilman. We were a little territorial. That's to our own detriment. Denver's one city, right? And people don't necessarily get to choose where they live sometimes.
Right.
But
Hey, well,
they should have that representation.
I appreciate your answer, and it was John B. KDKO. Come on now. See you later, Paul. Thanks.
Thank you. Looks like I have a couple more. Is it okay if I answer those?
Let's just, Nam had a question, and I see Maria, you have your hand up.
I do.
But let's try to wrap it up quick because we're running over on time.
I want to be respectful of your time, and I could talk about this forever, so I apologize.
Yeah. So,
all right, since I'm not muted, I'll go ahead and then Nam, if that's okay. You mentioned some changes that your office is proposing for the ballot initiative process.
Yes,
and you say you want to make it accessible, but a number of us on this call have participated in collecting signatures for citizen initiatives.
Yeah.
The couple I have in mind, I personally participated in gathering signatures, and measures were placed on the ballot and they eventually prevailed. So I'm pretty happy right now. And I'm wondering what those changes are going to be. You said something about Denver's population increasing, but I thought it was based on a percentage of the registered voters. And what are you proposing as changes? And if your proposal goes forward, is that going to have to be subjected to a vote of the people?
Depending on what we're trying to change, yes. There's a lot of different rules that we can change that I can do as the clerk. Legislative changes have to be either go through council. What we would do is just submit a proposal to this, and direct file a bill that would, have council consider it, either put it on the ballot or adopt it as an ordinance. Some of the changes that we're talking about is, whether or not, and they're actually good questions, right? For example, as a council person, I only had to have 100 signatures in my entire district of 56,000. to qualify for the ballot. That hasn't been changed since the 80s, since the 70s. That should change. Now we have over 500,000 registered voters for the first time in our history. We're not keeping up. Other cities, their threshold to get something on the ballot is probably about, I've seen from 5 to 7 to 11% of the total active registered universe. We are at 2%. And the door can swing both ways on those, but we haven't updated those in almost 3 decades. And so as we do that, we want to engage the public, and we want to figure out kind of what that medium balance is. The other thing too is, when I say the door swings both ways, some folks, it's a very grassroots. They don't have the money to hire lobbyists and go do it themselves, or some kind of firm, right, to go do it for them. Sometimes when you have paid signature gatherers, we've seen a lot of, and this is paid and non-paid, we've seen a lot of cases of potential fraud where somebody is taking the petition and signing a bunch of fraudulent names. Nothing ever happens to that person. We don't have the tools to really go after it and discourage it. So there's just a lot of different things that we would like to address and clean up. The other part of it is when you have initiated ordinances or anything that's on the ballot that produces a blue book, the city's blue book that was created wasn't, that I've inherited, doesn't have a referee. It basically says anybody can submit a rebuttal or the pro and con statements without it being fact checked. That's problematic. On the state level, you actually have somebody doing that. And so it's problematic because we want to make sure that there's correct information and that voters are relying on something that's coming from my office to be vetted, to be fair and transparent. Right now it's not, and it needs to be. So these are things that we need to clean up. Know that Ms. Flora, that as somebody that grew up in this city, someone that's a community organizer by trade, and I was an organizer before it was cool, and before we got paid for it. We want to make sure it's accessible. My job here is to make sure that people have access to the democratic process.
Thank
But
you.
it's in need of some upgrading. Thank you.
Noam, do you have time for real quick?
No, I mean, I think the clerk already spoke to it. It sounds like either council vote, like depending on whether it's specifically a charter change or but sounds like we're quite a bit of ways before.
Yeah.
I mean, the committee hasn't even spun up yet. Then they would have to make recommendations. Then it would have to go through some sort of vote, either of council or the people,
And that's what I want to do. So we're working in tandem with the council because of the legislative branch, and we want to make sure that, like what we did before when we moved to election to April, or even considered ranked choice voting at last year as a potential model. It came to council, and that council process determines what goes on the ballot and what doesn't. So,
All right. Well, thank you. We are running a little behind, so I'm going to try. Being my first meeting, I'm going to try to move it along. Thank you. We appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us.
no,
So
thank you very much, and it's good to see familiar faces.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, next, I'm going to open the floor up to anyone that has any community items.
Hey, Nam, I was just going to make sure that everybody did see that Leslie posted for us the connection for that whole process. Thank you, Leslie. Did y'all see that? It's in the chat.
Yes, thank
Hi,
you,
guys.
Leslie.
I was on that redistricting meeting just now, and if you go to that website, you will see some really interesting maps that talk about Denver's changes, like changes in racial groups, changes in age of voters, really interesting maps. But if you want to have your voice heard, you need to make your voice heard by the end of January, because after that, then City Council will start going through the maps that have been suggested, and then they'll start battling it out on the council level. As the clerk just said, this will be a legislative process. So your chance to weigh in is now in January, and then the next public meeting will take place February 2nd, and the information for that is in the chat.
Thanks, Leslie.
Yep.
Anyone else have any other items?
Hey Shane, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
It's Amy. Sorry, I had to call in. I have audio issues.
No.
Anyway, just super quick, I just wanted to mention for community updates that Northeast Park Hill Snow Patrol is in effect again now that we have snow. So all that means really is just shovel your sidewalk and then shovel your neighbors, or shovel the house down the street that never seems to get shoveled, or, you know, just kind of act locally to make sure that you're keeping our sidewalks clear, especially because it's once it doesn't get cleared, once more snow falls on top of it and more snow, it just becomes really, really dangerous to walk on that snow. And that's me with, you know, 2 relatively strong legs. So people who are walking with canes or trying to get around in wheelchairs or with strollers, it's just really difficult. So Northeast Park Hill Snow Patrol, if you want to engage in it and kind of see and track your progress and track the snowstorms, send me an email and I'll add you to my email list, and I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat. And all you have to do is just record where you shoveled, even if that's just your own place, and how much time you spent. And it's just kind of fun to, you know, see it and track it, know that there are other people out there that are clearing snow too. I think in Denver, there's this kind of idea, having grown up here, that like, you don't need a shovel because it melts anyway, but not in Northeast Park Hill, man. It not in all neighborhoods does that snow melt. So just wanted to put that out there. And then I just had a quick second thing too, which is, and maybe this is more for the board meeting, but I wasn't sure if there could be maybe some sort of formal response or support from GPHC to assist those affected by the Marshall Fire. You know, I'm not sure what kind of precedent we have for that, or funds, or, you know, communication or anything that we could do, but they are, you know, they are our neighbors in a way. They're close enough. I think it was such a horrible disaster that I just wanted to bring it up and acknowledge it. I've supported in my own small ways, but you know, some kind of community response or effort from Park Hill, maybe there already has been one, but I just wanted to bring it up to see if there could be some kind of way that we could either come together to encourage Park Hillians to support those who have been affected, or to have our organization directly help with, you know, maybe donations or volunteers or whatever.
Amy, this is Tracy. Shane, is it okay if I insert?
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's a great idea. And I'm wondering, could we brainstorm on some type of little bit of fundraising, and then we could talk later about possible support from the organization?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll shoot you an email.
Thanks, Tracy. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Tara, do you have something?
You see Tara just dropped a library update into the chat.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
Printer
I'm
of
trying to
reading
do
has
about 3
begun, and
things.
there's a link there.
I'm notorious horrible multitasker.
Oh,
And I apologize. It's my first meeting and I got started late with computer problems. So I've been scrambling to catch up the whole time. So
you're doing a great job, Shane.
You're doing great, Shane.
So I think we will move on to the board minutes. And
Actually, you know,
Jackie,
Shane,
do you have something?
yeah, I just want to interject.
You're on mute, Jackie.
You're muted, Jackie.
I love her to pieces. I love Amy. I'm sorry, I stick my finger. Anyway, what I want to say was 2 things. One is I love your snow patrol thing. That's so great. I did want to caution everybody. I've been walking the things and shoveling. It's the ramps and into the street. What we've got is a lot of people shoveling right to the edge, and it's blocking it. And if there's a wheelchair or a walker or anything, it's a nightmare. So please, and then it starts building up, like she said, gets real crunchy. So if you were out, if everybody would just do 2 ramps on any corner, we would, you know, the city would be wonderful. That's the first thing. And the second thing was that you talked about this fire thing. I love that idea. I would just add that when you and Tracy meet, think about the possibility of reaching out to Park Hillians and saying, Do you have a family member? Do you have someone that connects a coworker that has been affected by this? Because it does, you get more people to participate when they feel like they're directly helping someone that they know. It's just one of the things that we do in fundraising with that. Okay.
Thank you, Jackie. Anything else? Okay, let's move to the board portion of our meeting. Regarding the minutes, do I have some sort of nomination to approve the minutes, maybe?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll
All right,
second.
thank you, Amy.
This is Amy.
Yep, this
And
is
who
Tracy.
seconded?
Yep, I'll
Tracy
second. It's Tracy. Yep.
All right. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Oops. And Shane, Heather's here too, so she's a yes.
Okay, I'm taking notes, guys. I'm sure Bern is too, and then we will compare. All right, I have Amy, Rick, Nam. Sorry, hold on, I don't have Nam on my list.
It's okay.
Jackie, Shane, Brenda, Tracy, Heather, Melissa, Leslie. That's all I can see. If I didn't call your eye, oh, Bernadette, I've got you too.
Maria.
Amy,
And Karen.
Maria, Ken.
Yeah, I didn't see anyone else besides that, so.
Okay. So that's
how many
1,
is
2,
that?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 ayes.
Okay, do I have
counted
any?
that. I counted that we have 18 board members in the meeting unless some people scooted out early. So if everybody would then could lower their hands if they're up, and then we can do the nays and the abstentions.
Okay, are there the nays on adopting the minutes?
Bern, are you a nay or is your, oh, never mind, sorry. I don't see any.
I don't see any either. Do I have any abstentions?
Colette in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank
One
you.
from Colette, Sandy, Kevin.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
I know that's all I see too.
That's okay. So I don't know if I didn't get John, Phoebe. Looks like that's it, but they possibly are not in the meeting anymore. Okay. 13 ayes, 0 nays, and 3 abstentions, total of 16 votes.
Lana, Phoebe's an abstention. She just weighed in.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. 4 abstentions.
And I don't think John's in the meeting anymore.
Yeah,
So,
I think John's not here anymore. Okay, great.
all right. I have a few housekeeping things. First of all, some of you know this, some of you don't. The roof of our building is going to need to be replaced.
I have a whole slide on this, Shane. Do you mind if I pop it up?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, come on. There we go.
And as you can see, the old roof needs to be replaced because it's tar and gravel. They don't actually do tar and gravel anymore, from my understanding. It's actually doesn't meet code anymore. And the range of the bids are from 63 to 82K. We're also looking at this to actually, after we do this, hopefully to get maybe some solar up there too. So we're looking at that. Tracy, do you want to add anything since you're as involved in this as I am on on the roof project?
Yeah, I mean, just, I have been researching the 2A funds, working on a proposal with grid alternatives for solar. And the one thing is we needed the roof evaluated, and we've known for a long time the roof has been a problem. I know, Lana, you can comment on leakage, including leakage into bikes together. So that's where this comes from. There was other structural damage. Lana, Shane, I know you've both been involved in that. So that's pretty much where I am on that, my information on that.
Yeah, if you don't mind if I jump in, we've had 3 roofers come out and look at the roof, 3 different companies, and all agree that we need a roof replacement. Repairs are an option, but they would just really be a Band-Aid. We have had leaks in 2, possibly all 3 suites at this point. We just haven't found the one in the middle suite yet. And if they do some repairs, we would likely have to keep doing those repairs every like 2 to 3 years. The roof is quite old. We're not sure exactly how old, probably 30-ish years. Again, it's tar and gravel. And all 3 roofers agreed that it was best to just rip it out and start over. The product that they use now that they all recommended was, they call it TPO. It's a rolled roofing product. And they actually make it in a white, which is really cool because it reflects. So it's helps us with sort of our greening initiatives. Yeah, so again, we've had 3 bids received and reviewed, and we've Shane and Tracy and myself have looked through all of those, and Lewis as well was involved in that as our building chair. So we feel pretty confident in moving forward with one of the bids. It was really thorough, and the range that we've presented here is what it would be depending on what they find after they get into demolition. And it mostly has to do with insulation. We have to meet R30 insulation, and we're not really sure kind of what is up there in there currently. So yeah, that's the long and short of it on the roof. And yeah, once we have a new roof, we'll be able to put solar up there. But we can't do it with the way the roof is now.
I have a lot of comments on this. First of all, Bern brought up in the comments that built up roofs are not made anymore. They're actually preferred in a lot of new construction because of their durability. TPO roofs, and I'm not anti-TPO by any means, it's the majority of what I put on multifamily homes or buildings. If it is, it definitely should be white. One of my concerns is if we're going to do a solar system, I assume it's photovoltaic solar system on the roof, we should be looking at that before we replace the roof, because that can affect how it's mounted. If it's balanced on top of the roof, which means it's just platform, it sits on top of the membrane and is weighted down. Even then, we should be doing doubling up the roof at those locations. There's a lot of things to consider. If you guys would like, I could help out with reviewing the scope of work and the prices and all that kind of stuff. That's what I do, and maybe we can even get Bern. Hi, Bern. I'm going to volunteer you to look at it too. Both of us do this kind of thing a lot for our jobs. Do we know how many square feet the roof is, so I can sort of get an idea what they're charging per square foot?
I'd have to go back and look at the bid. I'm sure it's on there. I don't know off the top of my head.
Can I get, if we have 3 bids, can you send me those and I can look at them? Yeah, Bern says she'll help too, because
I was just gonna say that.
It's what we do for, both of us do this for a living, so.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, and the roofer that we've been working mostly with does a lot of these projects and works with a solar company pretty closely. And they also work with CPACE, which is the Colorado Commercial Property, it's right here, Property Assessed Clean Energy. So they had been advising us on some things related to ensuring that the roof would be prepared for solar. So that was kind of one of the reasons we were looking at this specific company more in depth, is because they do a lot of that and were able to advise us on what they think we should do in order to ensure that the roof is, you know, in in the condition it needs to be in before we go solar, if that makes sense.
And also, do we have a solar company we're thinking about talking? Because another thing we need to do is have a structural engineer evaluate our roof for its capacity to carry such a system.
Tracy maybe can
depending-
talk a little bit to that, but she's working with the city on a specific grant program. So
Yes,
it's
yeah, and
all laid out there.
Yeah, and Lana, I know certainly while these quotes were called in specifically, we were dealing with, we want to do this, so we need to check all of that to ensure we can do solar if we get the grant. So that was looked at in this process.
It was, yeah.
No, can I say here, it sounds to me like you guys have done a really good job of what you've been looking into, but I would suggest, since you've got Kevin and Bernadette, who can certainly have no interest in this other than making sure that they help, GPHC, wouldn't be a bad idea to at least have them look it over, in my opinion. So, because I know what it's like to have so many different hands, and you've been working your butt off and getting so far. And I know how bright all of you are, but it sounds like it wouldn't be a bad idea to have them at least look over it. What do you think?
So Bern and Kevin, Lana, if you could send them the 3 quotes tonight, but we are in a position of needing to move quickly. So I don't want to keep dragging this out by having the next person, the next person, the next person wanting to look at it.
And Trace, you say we need to move forward. What is that?
Well, if we want to start applying for the 2A grants, we can't apply for it with a roof that is what we've currently got.
I think the hope at this point is that we could get approval from the board to move forward in this process, because it is a large expenditure. Knowing that all of this is being thoroughly vetted by, there's 4 people currently looking at it, and I'm more than happy to send it to Kevin and Bernadette as well to get an extra set of eyes on it. So then there'll be 6 board members that are looking at the quotes that are coming, the quote that came through. We have 3 quotes from the one roofer who we're looking at most closely at this point. So yeah, I think the hope is that, we could get some buy-in from the board tonight so that we're able to move forward on. It's going to take, several weeks to get this roof going with permitting and everything.
So can I ask, so what you're asking for from us as the board is to make a motion to allow y'all to move forward? How does this work?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're asking for, some sort of motion to proceed with at least going forward with replacing the roof.
My one other question before I make that motion is, so this money is coming from where?
So it's going to come from our general fund. We have a sizable general fund. However, I have been researching the CPACE grant process. We could end up deferring our cost over time also if we get awarded that. So that'll depend whether we qualify or not, which we should, but including our plans to want to continue greening up the building, that helps our application. So we may not have to put it up all up front, but we do have it if we needed to.
Okay.
I'm going to move, I would then move that we go ahead and go forward.
Hey. So you're saying that we're going to install this new roof while we're pursuing the grant for the solar, and the solar would be installed after we've installed the new roof?
It would have to be.
So we have to be able to get a 15-year warranty, or basically have a roofer say that our roof is serviceable for 15 more years in order to even move forward with solar. And we are not in that position right now. We've got,
okay. Well, so my concern is the warranty on the roof. If you have the roofers are one company and the solar people are a different company, if the solar people are coming in and making penetrations in the new roof, then are we voiding the warranty on the roof from the roofing company?
I don't know the answer to that, but we could certainly find out. I just had solar installed on my
And
house
if-
and I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, so Lana, when we redid our roof just a few years ago and then immediately followed with solar, it did not void our warranty.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat, but I could
Well,
double check.
The
Okay,
problem is a TPO roof has a whole different, when you go to commercial, anything waterproofing for a commercial building, the warranty system is, it's designed so you can't collect on it. Let's be that way. So they will find a loophole.
right,
But even if you put a system that's not penetrating the roof, because there are solar systems that the framework penetrates and ties into the roof structure. There's also ones that are ballasted on top. Well, sometimes those, if you don't get the roofing manufacturer, their approval, they could have said, well, you need an extra layer strips underneath the frame. And there's a lot of complications that could void the warranty, that if we're gonna go through it, almost be better, and I don't know if you can do this with the grant for the solar, it'd almost be better that it's one contract where the solar company is paying the roofer to redo the roof under one
Right.
contract. That way there's not this. Well, no, it wasn't our solar, it was their roof, so we're not doing anything, and vice versa. And I've had that on many apartment buildings where the solar company is responsible to hire the roofing company to either repair or install, depending on how, the condition of the roof on existing. So it's all under one point of view, and then it's their responsibility to make sure that all the warranties are met for the roofing material. And that would just basically cover us completely. So later on, when we get a leak, the roofing company can't say, oh, well, you didn't do X, Y, and Z. So yeah, we're not doing it.
Okay, that is valuable information. Thank you. We will definitely talk with the roofing company, and we can look into that with the solar grant as well and find out if there's a way to make that happen in that fashion so that we don't have to worry about the warranties.
Mhm.
Well, I assume the solar grant, when they say they want a 15-year roof to put it on, I assume they will take the fact that we are going to replace, we will not take the money for the solar until the roof has been installed or is part of the contract of the roof.
That is correct.
Yeah, and I mean, the roofing the penetrations from the solar system, not the, that, I mean, if that just needs to be a separate contract, like after the fact with the original roofing company, or I don't know, or you could discuss that with the roofing company when we go under contract that,
Yeah.
We're planning on installing solar, but we need the new roof installed and completed first to get the grant. And, if there's some sort of language in there that's saying that they will come back.
Okay, that's, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'll talk to the
something
roofer.
like
I'll ask
that.
the roofer about it. Like I said, he was very, very knowledgeable on solar and on the grants and all of that. So I feel like if once I reach out with these questions, he's going to have a good answer for us about how that's going to work.
Can I get a point of order? I actually moved, and what at that point we should have done is seen if there was a second. My motion was, which wasn't complete, was that my motion was to be that we go ahead and have you guys move forward, but then have you come back to us as the board, either in writing or whatever, with the final bids in order. And that's kind of to cover you guys so that we've all seen it and everybody said, yes, we're agreeing to this, because this is a huge expenditure for you guys to have to, that you 4 / if you add Kevin and Bernadette, that's 6 to kind of put on your plate. I have no doubt that y'all are going to make good decisions, but I think it would be helpful to you to have a full board, for y'all to be, this kind of protect you, to have a full board saying, yes, we believe that you did, move forward. A motion is.
I would second that motion. I think that's the right way to go, because I think there's a big delta between $62,000 and $82,000. And it would, so I would agree with Jackie. So I second her motion.
So I'll just say that the delta is because of mostly due to this is, and maybe I'm not understanding this quite right, and someone else might know, but it's because we don't know what the insulation situation is. We probably don't have any. And they have to submit their plans to the city to get the permit. And so we're basically going to have them submit the plan at the $63,000 bid and see if that gets us where we need to be. And the city won't permit that or won't agree to that, then we'll be going up from there, and 82 is like the top end. So it might be a little bit of a process. So I just don't want to say that we can cleanly commit to saying like this is the final plan, because I think it's going to be a multi-stage process, and I don't want to necessarily drag everybody through the mud on that entire thing. And that's just my rudimentary understanding of how this is going to work.
And that, just so you know, that's pretty typical on a roof replacement, that there's a contingency amount for unknowns. What is the roofing insulation? Also, there could be damage to the structure below, the sheeting, a joist, whatever.
That's right.
So
they don't know if they're going to have to replace the sheeting. They don't know, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
They pull that tar off. So
as long as they quantify what that is that they have to do it, and they submit what's done, time and materials, that's a fair way to do it. They can't, there's too many unknowns working on an old existing roof. They can't give you the number. So my question is, when you say we have 3 bids, we have 3 different roofing contractors, or is it 3 different ways of looking at it from one roofing contractor?
We have 3 different roofing contractors. We eliminated the high one at 104,000.
Okay, no, that's cool.
Okay, then let me amend mine to have you move forward with the $63,000 proposal, assuming that if I would appreciate if Kevin and Bernadette could at least look at it. I am not questioning what work has been done so far, guys. I think you've done a great job, but let's move forward the 63,000 with the intention that you come back and have the board vote on any additional, just again, to cover you guys.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, Brenda, would you?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Brenda?
Yeah. I second it. Yes.
Okay, we have a vote. For those in favor of the motion of Jackie's motion, raise your hand.
okay, we've got Bernadette, Amy, where are you?
Oh, sorry, I got to get in screen.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, Bernadette, Amy, Maria, Joe, my screen's moving around on me. Jackie, Sandy, Colette, Kevin, Sandy, Colette, Kevin, sorry, Rick, Tracy, Shane, Brenda, Melissa, Leslie, Ken, did I miss anybody?
Did you get Heather?
I did not, thank you.
She's in the, Tracy says in the chat that Heather is yes. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not looking at the chat, so if someone could call that out for me, that's helpful. Okay, so if that's all, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 ayes.
Are there any nays?
If you guys could put your hands down if they're up still from
Jackie, Bernadette.
I'm not seeing.
I don't see any.
Any nays. Oops, sorry, Jackie. I think I put your hand up again.
Are there any abstentions? So it's 16-0.
That's what I'm seeing. Yeah, again, I just don't have Phoebe and John, but I don't know if
I don't think
John's here, and I'm not seeing Phoebe anymore either. She maybe had to go.
All right.
Okay,
Are there any
1600.
other open? Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to mention the last thing on that slide was masonry work. I don't think we need to vote on this, but since it was there, I just will mention it. When we were on the roof with the roofers, we noticed we needed some masonry repairs on the parapet wall. We've got a little bit of tuck pointing to do around the building. And I got the bid today and it's like $1,000. So nothing serious, but just so everybody knows that we're going to be doing that alongside this as well, or probably sooner than later, so that we don't have any bricks.
And that's for the entire building exterior?
Yeah, it's in really good shape. All the faces of the building are in really good shape. It's really the parapet wall that has some crumbly spots and some loose bricks. And then there was like one area of tuck pointing on the back near where a downspout was connected to a water barrel at some point, but came unconnected at some point. So washed away some of the mortar. But
now that you mentioned, is any part of the roof bid, I assume not, looking at downspouts and gutters and that system, because everything drains to the back of the property, correct?
I think so. Yeah, it is on there. It is on the bid.
Okay, cool.
I'll send it to you guys. It's a really super thoroughly written bid. So I think you'll be able to get some good specifics from it.
Yeah, and I need to thank Tracy and Lana. They've done a lot of the work on this. They know more about it than I do. Partly because that's really not my area of expertise. I'm not like Kevin or Bernadette. You're all talking Greek to me there. So
Leslie, to answer your question, and for anybody who doesn't know, the building that we own is technically, it looks like 3 storefronts. It's 3 suites. So we have the suite where like our community meetings were once upon a time pre-COVID, the suite where like the main front offices in the conference room, and then the suite just to the north, which is half of the bikes together space, is now the entire bikes together space. It was not their retail store. It's like their back work area storage space, and they are still our tenant. They're in that space, even though they don't have a retail store in Park Hill anymore. They are still on site there, and they do like bike repairs and run some programs and things out of that location. You just wouldn't know they were there unless you knew, because they don't have a sign or anything anymore.
So they've reduced their space. They're no longer in Mr. Brown's space. They're just in our space.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're planning on living out their lease or whatever it is.
They just re-signed. No, I'm on the spot. It was a 1 year with 2 1-year extensions, I think. So their future is a little bit uncertain as an organization. So we're super happy to still have them, but we're giving them a little bit of breathing room on going sort of year to year at this point, so they can figure out what their next steps look like.
Cool.
All right. Any other items?
I have one thing I wanted to ask Lana, just a question about the Garden in the Box program. I think Phoebe Lassiter, who had to drop off, is really interested in that program and getting some people up in her District 6 interested in the program. And she had a couple of questions that I said I would ask. One of which is the qualifying for the boxes. You have to be low income or some other qualifier. So what does that mean, and what do people have to assemble in the way of documentation?
We don't really make anyone prove anything. It's sort of just on a self-identifying. If you're a novice gardener, or if you can't afford to buy starters, or you just don't really know what you're doing. We have people from both sides of that, then we welcome anybody who would need to utilize it.
Okay, so you don't need tax returns or triple authenticated?
No, we're pretty easy.
All right, and then the other question is how much demand there is for the boxes. Do you run out? How popular is the program? What do these folks, if we can generate some interest in District 6, do they need to rush to get a box?
we only ever have about 40-ish people register, and a lot of those are repeats or they're food pantry clients that know about it that way. So I think it would be really cool to expand the program, and we have the capacity to do that. We sort of monitor the registrations and then prepare for however many we need within reason, of course. I mean, if it exploded tenfold, I don't know that we'd be able to serve that, but we could grow the program. It's never been an issue so far. But we do have a start and an end date, you know, cut off for registration, and then we get what we need to fill that. Mostly through donations in the past from like Ace Hardware and City Floral and True Value and things of that nature. We do have some funds we can supplement that with. So I think it would be great if she could drum up some additional folks to sign up for that, and we could grow it, you know, a little bit every year.
Well, thank you. We'll
We're
see
up
what
for
we
that.
can do.
Yeah.
I just want to bring up one thing. As per usual, the January issue of the Park Hill News was amazing. There's a very good article on a certain someone we know in there. So everyone, if you haven't seen it, please grab it. Someone who I think is one of the leaders of our community in terms of trying to push for the right thing and working very hard and getting, unfortunately, a lot of resistance from some people in our community, but always trying to do the right thing and putting her time and energy into it. And I think just read the story so you understand what she does.
Thanks, Kevin. Kara did a great job, including the
As
pictures.
always.
As always, yeah.
I'm very grateful. It really is a nice touch.
Yeah, it was a great story. And it was great. And that's also to you, Cara. It was a great story. You know, I've spoken out for you in the past too. Anyway, if that's it, I am going to give you all the, you know, the gift of the rest of the evening. I know we went a little long. Next time I'll hopefully won't have computer problems and be a little better prepared. So that's it. Take care. See you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.